The Hill just put out a trash ass article about the Libertarian Party, and I'm going to react to it. This is John Priest, and this is Stoned Liberty.
This one's called The World is Fucked Up. The government's corrupt, I know it. What the fuck you want me to do? Go overthrow it? There's starving children everywhere you look. What the fuck you want me to do? I barely know how to cook. I don't see a way to make it stop. When evil motherfuckers always make it to the top. If everyone was like me, shit would be cool. We all would get along and be peaceful. But the world is fucked up. What can I do about it? The world is fucked up. What can I do about it? There's 7 billion people, and I am only one. The world is really, really fucked up, son.
Yeah. So, anyways, I get up this morning, and everything's going as per usual. A normal shit show on Twitter. And then somebody that I follow, shout out to the Mike Vardo on Twitter, for pointing out this opinion piece that was put out by The Hill on the Libertarian Party. And at first I tried to read it. I made it like 3 paragraphs in and had to stop reading it. It's factually incorrect. It's so heavily opinionated that it's so heavily opinionated and not based in fact, but yet it is stated as such in the article. So we'll start off by looking at the tweet my buddy put out. Mike Decentralized, aka Mike Vardo on Twitter. An incredible achievement this article represents. Almost every word, apart from mentioning a few key libertarian thinkers favorably and describing 2016 election fairly, libelous and false. Wonder if the Libertarian National Party and Libertarian Mises Caucus should sue them. And yeah, we have the article here. So let's just go through it together real quick. It's a dab lung. It's a relatively short article, as you see here. It is an opinion on civil rights written by Andrew Koppelman, opinion contributor at The View. The views expressed by the contributors are their own and not the view of The Hill. You're a publishing company and you allowed this? That's question number 1. Let's go ahead and get into the article. And you see these, they have Gary Johnson, Bill Weld, and I don't know. But let's get into the article. Only a few years after its greatest triumph, the Libertarian Party is collapsing, torn apart by an insurgency of alt-right sympathizers with racist tendencies. What? Let's see if he can point out any of these people that he's talking about when he says that. Libertarianism, the idea that state power must be absolutely minimized, relies on ideas of individual rights that seem flatly inconsistent with racism. And yet libertarian rhetoric has always had powerful attractions for those who wanted to resist racial equality. How's that possible? There is, in fact, a connection, but it is one of psychology and political history rather than logic. I just published a history of libertarianism. The book is a critical introduction to this ideology, which has done so much to shape American politics. I focused on its major thinkers Hayek, Friedman, Epstein, Rothbard, Nozick, and Rand, and sought to address their strongest arguments. None of them are racist, and most rejected racism vehemently, so I largely ignored the linkage with racism. Yet now it presents itself. Okay. In May, the party was taken over at its national convention by the so called Mises Caucus, a far right group, some of whose members have been associated with racist and anti Semitic ideas. The caucus is named after libertarian economist Ludwig von Mises, whose philosophy was pretty crude, as I explained in the book, but who firmly condemned racism. See, the Hill must have not let him promote whatever fucking book he's talking about. Either that or he just doesn't want to name the book because it sucks. Let's go on. On Martin Luther King Day this year, the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire tweeted in a leader-related post that America is in debt to black people. If anything, it's the other way around. Caucus members have called for violent repression of Antifa and Black Lives Matter protesters. The new leadership's first and most prominent decision was to remove from the party platform language declaring, "We condemn bigotry as irrational and repugnant." Let's break this down. Any of you that are familiar with the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire and their Twitter page, it's all, most of it is a mirror of jest. It's a mirror that makes fun of the current day political atmosphere. Now they can say, yeah, they deleted the post or whatever. And that mainly because came from outside pressure, and we could look at other tweets. I'm not going to go through them right now, but we could look at other tweets if we wanted to, if we really wanted to. But like I said, I don't want to go through them right now. But they say controversial things, but we have to remember that originally Ron Paul told us that we have the First Amendment, not just so that we can report the news, but so that we can say controversial things. It's meant to be a challenge of the minds and to challenge your thinking. And that's why freedom of speech is so important, because through conversation, and as long as you can keep it civil, you can learn a lot about not only people, but culture, so on and so forth. But people don't even have conversations anymore. They just go for this immediate, just, these are personal attacks against people who remain unnamed as we continue to read on. But as far as the fact that they removed, "We condemn bigotry as irrational and repugnant," dude, I think that goes without saying. And not only that, but we live in a society today that can't define anything. We can't define what a woman is. Most people can't define what bigotry is. Most people deny that racism occurs against white people. They call it anti-racism. Dude, it's racism. But nobody can define it because the words are constantly changing. And that's how governments always maintain power, is they control the language. If you know anything about tyrannical governments is that they controlled what people could say and what they could hear, and you're seeing it now. But let's continue reading because that was off on a tangent. He continues on. As a result, the party is facing mass defections. In 2016, Gary Johnson was the most successful libertarian presidential candidate in history. He got almost 4.5 million votes, 3.3% of the votes cast, three times more than any previous libertarian candidate, including Johnson himself in 2012. Okay, so you're just going to give Gary Johnson all the credit. It wasn't like Gary Johnson, yes, he was the presidential nominee, but it wasn't like there weren't a lot of people on the ground within states trying to make changes within their states and doing. If you know anything about the Libertarian Party, we'll continue to read on, but yeah, let's read on so that I can touch on this next point that I want to make. The crack up is in part the result of crass political machinations. The insurgents are funded by donors who have been close to the former President Trump, suggesting that the takeover is part of a coordinated Republican stratagem to destroy a party that has been drained away or that has been draining away Republican votes. If Trump had gotten every libertarian vote in 2020, he would have won. The chairman of the New Mexico Libertarian Party wrote that the leadership has adopted messaging and communications hostile to the principles for which the Libertarian Party was founded, serving no purpose other than to antagonize and embarrass. That may indeed be the purpose. Battles for control of the state party are also happening in Virginia and Massachusetts. Okay. Where the fuck is this money you're talking about, dude? Where is this money you're talking about? And who are you talking about? Who? You haven't named a single person, and you're espousing a lot of things about these people who you can't fucking name, and saying that they're getting Trump money. Where is this money, bro? Where is it at? I live in Texas, and I operate outside of both the party itself and the Mises Caucus because that's how I choose to operate. I've talked to the chair of the party about it, and she made it pretty. Through our conversation, she made me realize that yes, I probably am more effective spreading my message about the libertarian philosophy and the party itself on my own than I am within the party if I can't respect the leadership. And I I would strongly urge Texans to go to check out Mark Tippett's. I don't have all of his handles here. I'll be sure to do the research and put them in the description when I post the video. But people of Texas, if you want liberty and freedom, if you want to cut taxes, truly cut taxes, and try to come to a solution on the border, then Mark Tibbetts, you need to listen to his message. You need to check him out. But when they talk about the Libertarian Party of New Mexico and the Libertarian Party of Virginia, those are two states that the previous leadership that has now declared that they're not going to be part of the party or whatever you want to say are no longer with the party and are possibly getting sued. So you can throw that out the window. And as far as Massachusetts goes, dude, you talk about antithetical to libertarian values. Your state just kicked out a bunch of immigrants for no reason. Threw them in a military brig for no reason. I live in Texas. I know how mass immigration has affected our nation, and some people might not like. Some libertarians might not appreciate the way that I want to solve the migration issue and how we handle immigration, because I do want to be able to freely travel. I believe that every person should be able to freely travel, but when it comes to our nation and keeping our sovereignty, I think, I don't think it would be extraordinary to at least have to have a passport to get in and out of the country. But that will we can that's those are my personal views, not the views of the party. But that's just where I'm at. Let's go ahead and continue with this. The stratagem would not be possible unless the alt right people were available for recruitment. There is a reason why they joined the Libertarians instead of Greens, other third party whose principles are equally antithetical to them. The connection between libertarianism and race dates back to 1964. After he had the Republican presidential nomination, Barry Goldwater, himself no racist, voted against Civil Rights Act on libertarian grounds in a speech co-authored by future Supreme Court Justice William Rehnquist. He said that the freedom to associate, which is really key, shout out to Carrie Ann Harlos, I love you, girl. The freedom to associate means the same thing as the freedom to not associate. In so doing, he transformed the Republican coalition. Eisenhower had gotten about 40% of the black vote in 1956, Nixon in 1960 about a third, Goldwater 6%. Goldwater was the first Republican ever to win in Georgia and the first since Reconstruction to carry Alabama, Mississippi, and South Carolina. Richard Nixon's eagerness to woo the voters who had supported George Wallace in 1968 consolidated the racial polarization of American politics. At that time, this is 2022. Like, and when it comes down to it, you do a good job of in one paragraph of why we should repeal the Civil Rights Act. I'm for abolishing the whole government as far as I'm concerned, but this is the exact reason, because when you look at all of these, the Civil Rights Act and the 14th, 15th, and 19th Amendments are always my favorite ones to pick on. Amendments to the Constitution that grant that take rights in order to make it seem equal, they take rights of individuals to support groups of people instead of individuals. The Constitution is about individual rights. The Articles of Confederation, it's all about individuality and being able. If you've done your history, it's about individualism and not about groups of people. And we can have the debate on whether it's constitutional or not. I feel like at the time, what the country was going through, yeah, possibly, but we're talking 2022 here, and now our government is using it literally to tear us apart. We see it with Vice President Kamala Harris talking about how money should go to people of color first. No, we just need to help everybody that's been affected by the hurricane. This equity idea is fucking idiocracy. Let me have a sip of this here sody. Where's the good one? Oh, there it is. I'm gonna crack it. But let's continue reading. And I'm gonna spark this smoke. He continues on. Racism seems to be part of the libertarianism's appeal to some Americans. It is easier to oppose government power if you don't like what that power will be used for. Some of the libertarian leadership noticed that and has made racist appeals for decades. Some libertarians even dream of abandoning states or a state for clusters of self governing enclaves, some of which could all be white. Ayn Rand, or all be white. Sorry. Let me end that before I make it sound like a run on. Ayn Rand called racism the lowest, most crudely primitive form of collectivism, but her condemnation of unproductive parasitic moochers has more resonance when you think you know who those people are. Again, that's a big assumption to make about people that you still haven't named. I don't know who these people are with these ideas that are so racist as you put it. I so far really vague, dude. Really vague, Drew. Libertarianism offers a peculiar vision of the heroic solitary individual who sustains himself without any external support. It says, I don't depend on anybody. I can take care of myself. Yeah, you're right. I take care of myself and my family. That's what I should do as a man. That's my place in society. And that's my place. I chose that place. I consented to choosing that place. And it's how the culture that I grew up in, poor, in a poor neighborhood that wasn't majority white. So, like, if you, I want to see you point these racists out. I want names so that I can call you out with them if they're actually being racist, because a lot of racists come from the suburbs where they don't have to, they're not exposed to people that make it out of the hood, okay? Fuck right off. The fantasy of autarky, autocracy? I don't know. Can also involve the capacity to separate from people one doesn't like. That's freedom of association, dude. I don't have to hang out with people I don't like. It doesn't matter why I choose not to hang out with them. That's none of your business. And I can guarantee you it's not based on their skin tone. Alright, dude? It denies any obligation to them that might be based either on shared membership in a community or on history of wrongs that one has involuntarily benefited from. Like what, white guilt? The fantasy is easy to swallow if it means that one gets to keep more of what one has. Here, as elsewhere in libertarian thought, there is an active partnership between delusion and greed. And it says Andrew Koppelman, John Paul Stevens, professor of law at the Northwestern University, is author of, oh, look, they did plug his book, Burning Down the House, How Libertarian Philosophy Was Corrupted by Delusion and Greed. Bro. That was hard to stomach for me. Like, you named off some presidential candidates. You threw out a lot of different kind of accusation towards people. Who are those people, dude? Who are those people? I pull up Twitter. Who's the first person on my Twitter? Marsh Torre. Is he a racist? Who are you talking about? Andrew Koppelman, The Hill. Dude, I don't know who's handling who here, But do a little bit of fact checking before you print some fucking trash like that, dude. It's ridiculous. I'm fucking stoned. You blew my high. Stoned Liberty. I'm John Priest. The corporate press can eat a bag. I'm out.